So it's been a minute since I did a video, but there was some shit that went down with me while I was on vacation, and some conversations that I had with my family members, and then just watching shit as it's been going by, and I was like, well, maybe it's time for me to make a video, talk about some shit. And the major thing was me talking about accountability. So now at work, we have people coming in, twice a week before we just open up fully or whatever. So a couple of my female coworkers were in today, and we had a conversation, and I struck up the conversation about accountability, and we were talking about rape and stuff like that. And I knew what and before I do comedy, I already know majority of the time what the fuck people are going to say and how they're going to react. And that's why a lot of times I say shit just to find out who people are. But then this is how you find out, like, who thinks for themselves and who, let society and all this other bullshit guide their thoughts. So it was like accountability, and I'm big on accountability when it comes to people and their actions, and especially when it comes to the black community. I get into it with a lot of people who are quote unquote black. I hate that fucking word, because there's no such thing as black people. We didn't come up with that shit, just like we didn't come up with African American and all this other bullshit. Just like white people didn't come up with calling themselves white and all this other stupid shit, but whatever. We are fucking human beings, but that's all for that. So we were talking about, I brought up the thing of Bill Cosby getting out, and I said I was happy that he got out. And then my two coworkers, they looked at me like, "You happy he got out? He did all that stuff to that girl." I was like, do we know he did that? I mean, it's funny to me how no one that was there can listen to the media, and people make all these fucking accusations, and just because people make accusations doesn't mean that they're fucking true. And he had to do it. You hear all these stories. Then I brought up Michael Jackson. I was like, do y'all think Michael Jackson had sex with those kids? They was like, yeah. They're like, look at Neverland Ranch. It was built for shit like that. Michael Jackson never had a childhood. The FBI investigated Michael Jackson for over 20 years and said they never found anything, but my coworkers were adamant about them believing that he did something to these kids. And then we brought up the whole thing with gymnastics. And we know these motherfuckers doing some shit to kids. We know the Catholic priests are fucking the shit out these little boys, but we ain't gonna talk about that. But it was just funny to me how that the media and society can control your thoughts. So then we start talking about like rape and accountability. Now listen, before women get all up in arms, there's no that you shouldn't rape anybody under any circumstances, period. I don't give a fuck what a woman is doing. Period. A woman can be laying in the street butt ass naked. That doesn't give a man a right to go over there and do absolutely anything to her. So we're going to get that out the way. But now, so we can talk accountability, and that's my whole thing about talking accountability and about how we do things in a society. And I was talking to them, I said, so do you think that a woman, and this is the shit that bothers me about a lot of shit, even African Americans and our plight in this fucking country, and how a lot of us just like being victims, and we keep on asking for all this shit, but we don't really want to do shit ourselves. And it was like, so if a woman goes out and gets sloppy drunk and get raped, do she have any accountability for what happened to her? And the first thing they said, when you go out and do whatever you want to do, it don't mean you're right. You are absolutely correct. I agree with you 100%. But yet and still, if you wouldn't have got drunk to the point you know what the fuck you were doing or where you at, this probably would have been like something that may have not happened. And yeah, women get raped all the time, but we also know, again, when you don't want to accept accountability for your actions and you just want to be a victim, the bottom line is that a lot of women do go out here, get drunk in clubs around motherfuckers they don't know, and shit happens. And yeah, women get raped all the time. I'm not saying that they don't, But until we start accepting some accountability for our actions, we're never going to move anywhere. And it's the same thing I bring up. So I gave another scenario. It's funny how, depending on the scenario, how people look at shit. So it's like when it comes to motherfuckers that start selling drugs. And if you're a drug dealer and all this snitching shit is just dumb to me. If you go out and sell drugs, when here's the contract with selling drugs, there's a high probability that you're probably going to end up going to jail. There's a high probability that somebody probably end up robbing you. There's a high probability that you might end up getting killed. And there's a high probability that somebody might tell on you. Now, if all that happens, and then your family members get on TV and crying about, oh, he got killed, he was a good person, even though you're selling drugs and you may not have never hurt anybody in your life. This comes with the fucking job, right? I mean, just like if you go out there and play football and you fucking get a spinal cord injury, people ain't running around like, oh, he shouldn't have got this, a part of the job. So when people talk all this snitching shit, the people been telling on people from the beginning of time. But you have to hold yourself accountable for putting yourself in a situation where this shit was able to happen. It's the same thing with women, with rape, and then the whole thing with people getting pregnant. You know, like, again, I'm not making excuses for or saying that women should get raped, but you also should have accountability for your motherfucking actions. Just like when I was talking about this shit when I was in Georgia with my family member, we were talking about prostitutions and some shit that happened when I was younger. And we were riding around and ran into a prostitute. But anyways, we didn't rape anybody. But anyway, we're talking about it, and it's like, you know, if you go out and decide that you want a prostitute, knock yourself out. But that shit that comes with prostitution. No, a prostitute, just because you're a prostitute don't mean you should get raped. Bottom line, fine print. But if you become a prostitute, there's a chance that you may not get paid for your services. There's a chance you might get your ass whooped. There's a chance that somebody may rape you. Right or wrong. So when you sign up for this shit, you have to hold yourself accountable because you signing up for some shit that there's a lot of things that could happen to you, and just because the worst thing may happen doesn't mean that you don't have some fucking accountability for the bullshit. And that's what's wrong with most motherfuckers in this world. They don't want to accept accountability for their actions. I got fucking shot. It was no fucking drive-by. It was a mistake that somebody shot me. I was participating in some shit that I could have pulled out of participating in it. And I stayed in it for whatever fucking reason, and I ended up getting shot in the process. It took me 7 years for me to get over depression and accept my accountability for that, and that's how I moved forward. So I just don't understand how people don't understand shit. Okay, yeah, you can say that this shit should never happen, but we live in a society of fucking human beings, and everybody doesn't react to everything the same way that people say they react to. America's done a lot of fuck shit to people. But they don't want to accept accountability for none of that shit. They just keep playing victim, and we supposed to have been doing this and that. But the bottom line is that until we as human beings can start accepting accountability for our actions on any level, we're never going to move forward. It's always going to be we in these boxes, in these different boxes, and you accepting these dumbass labels, and people like being victims because people feel sorry for. I ain't never wanted anybody to feel sorry for me. Period. I go around and say I'm in a wheelchair and shit like that, but I use that as jokes, and then once people catch on and I still keep doing it, it usually doesn't work anymore. But I'm just saying, if you're going to do something in life, and you're participating in whatever it is, or you're just out in the world, when you leave your fucking house, you have to understand that regardless of what society says and how you've been brought up, everybody is not going to react the same way to shit that society tells us to. It's been proven over and over again. So that's why when I leave the house, a lot of shit that I do, and that's why I don't hang around a lot of people. Like, I drive. When I'm driving, I swear to God this happens. I can't even control it. I be thinking of all the ways I can die, especially when I'm on the freeway, and shit happens. And it's just me. I think it's just because my higher consciousness that I am right now, that is just like it's me being totally aware of everything that could happen to me. Because when I got shot, I was being arrogant, and I thought that, well, I wasn't paying attention. I just figured, well, shit ain't gonna happen to me, and did. And like I say, and that's why I am where I am today. So accountability is the moral of all this bullshit.